Good morning, my neighbors!
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing on this fall back? Daylight saving times was yesterday. And so your boy got a little extra sleep. So I feel good. So I want to start off by saying welcome to Morning Motivation, your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. I'm your host, Jamon. And I'm thrilled to have you join me as we kickstart our day with positivity and purpose. So whether you're here to seek motivation, connect with like-minded individuals, or simply get your day started on the right foot, you come to the right place. And this week, today actually, we are concluding our DISC assessment series. It's been fun, it's been eye-opening, and I hope it's been informative for you. And today, we're getting into the last letter, the C, conscientiousness. But before I do that, special shout out.
How you doing, Brother Craig? How you doing?
How you doing, Brother Craig? Shout out to that chick, yo. and everybody else in the building. All right, let's get to it. We talked about the D. Talked about the D in the DISC assessment. And we talked about the I and the S. Dominance, influential, and steadfastness or steadiness. Today we're getting into the C, which is conscientiousness. And I go back and forth with this description, but the C is like it's like the blood, it's like the brains. It's like a very integral part of how we work. In a sense, I guess the brain might be the best explanation. D is the dominance, right? That's the energy. That's the spirit. The I is the influential. That's the outward show, the facade. The S is the teamwork. It's all the things working together. And the C is the reason why all those things work together. I remember Eric Thomas, he had a program called, he had his unique program. I forget the name of it now, but it was a very unique program, and it centered around the DISC assessment. And he had it like, I think it was like the air. He had two of them. One was animal assessment, and the other one was like the flight attendants. And so the D was the pilot. The I was the flight attendants. The S was the grounds crew, and the C was the people in the control tower. And so that's how he broke it all down to make it, easy for a lot of people to understand. And I think it might be fitting for some of you in here who may be still struggling with the concept of how it all works together, and how, yes, you need a pilot, but you also need flight attendants. Yes, you need the people on the plane to do what they do, but you also need the grounds crew, because they help them get the bags loaded, they help them fly off and land safely. Then it's the control tower. They are the mad scientists behind it all, because they see the radar, they see the planes incoming, out, and going. They do all the systems that make sure that the flights get off and there's not chaos and a bunch of planes falling out the sky. So there's no one part that's better than the other. And the I and the S, I was a little bit more gung-ho about it because I relate most heavily to both of those. I can be in my high D when I need to be, but I can also be in my C, which this is probably my weakest one. And those of you who know me, know me well, you're going to understand why this is my weakest one. So let me start by asking this question. Have you ever, or do you know someone who pays close attention to detail? They value accuracy above all else. They pay a lot of attention to detail, and they value accuracy above all else. Do you know anybody like that? Have you worked around somebody that accuracy and details mattered, and they would almost fight you? They would almost fight you over how much they mattered. Yep. So we're going to get into that today. I named the show Study Long, Study Wrong, because I used to be a pretty good spade player. Used to be a pretty good, matter of fact, it's hard to say you was the best in a card game, because it's really the luck of the draw a lot of times. But you recognize patterns. You understand how this thing plays to this thing. You understand how this person plays will inform how you should play, and then actually setting up the round or the hand so that it falls in your favor. That requires a lot of skill. And I've met some people I've played against some people who have had like really, really strong hands, but they didn't know how to play it. And if you don't know how to play your hand, well, that's a wasted hand on you. It's like, what are we doing here? You can't even play your hand. So yeah, the name of today's show is Study Long, Study Wrong. And I chose this name because, well, you'll see in a minute. So let's get into it. All right. We normally talk about, with the rest of them, we talked about the strengths and the weaknesses. But I really want you to understand that the conscientiousness, it's a very big word, but it's a very simple meaning behind it. The conscientiousness style is all about a person's desire or their wish to do things well and thoroughly. That's it, to do something well and thoroughly. So the word is almost as long as the definition for real. The conscientious person just want to do a good job. They just want it to work the way it's supposed to work. That's it. So you have a lot of your engineers, a lot of your scientists, people who like to get deep in the weeds. Those are most of your consciousness people. The people that love to be the behind the scenes, making sure everything goes. And they get fulfillment in that, looking at their work and being appreciated for their work. So let's talk about real quick. What are some of the character traits? Character traits of the consciousness style. One, detail-oriented and analytical. They're very detail-oriented and analytical. Those with the consciousness style are meticulous and focused on ensuring accuracy and the quality of their work. When you have children, you'll have one child that'll go and they'll put their toys away and they'll put it together in an order. Now, they're children, so it's not going to be perfect. But as they get older, you start to see the differences in the separation. Some children, they don't want people coming in, touching their stuff. If they put something in a certain place, they expect for it to be there. They have an order and an organization. Versus other children, everything goes in a pile. Everything goes in a pile. We'll figure it out when we need it. Also, logical and objective. Logical and objective. They approach tasks with a logical mindset, often relying on data and facts to make decisions. Hey man, don't let facts get in the way of a good lie. Don't let organization get in the way of a little chaos. You know? Y'all can already tell this is my weakest one. Because I'm not super detailed. I am not, I can be analytical at times. I can read numbers, but I'm really the big picture, bottom line kind of guy. I don't care how the sausage is made. Shout out to me. I don't care how the sausage is made. I just care that it's made and that when I'm ready for it, it's there. I don't really read labels. I don't really read recipes. Well, I take it back. I do read them, but I don't follow them to the key. If they say add a pinch of salt, I'm going to do probably 3 pinches of salt. If they said a half cup of sugar, I'm probably going to do a whole cup of sugar. And if they said bake it for 20 minutes, I'm probably going to bake it for 15 and then I'm going to start checking it because, I still want it to be soft and moist. But if it's brownies, I'm baking it for 30 because I like them hard and crispy. Yeah, I'm a rebel. So me and people that live in that C space, we struggle a little bit. We struggle a little bit. Since I'm always using,
How you doing, brother Craig? How you doing?
I'm always using my brother Craig as examples. Craig has a lot more C than I do. And so he is very organized. He will study and research and get all the facts and the theory and understand the inner workings. And I'm just sitting in the corner looking at him like, so we gonna go yet? When we wanna leave? You got enough information yet? Come on, bro. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Also, being a conscientious style, you're more reserved and you're more precise. You're more reserved and precise. You tend to be cautious and thorough, often preparing or preferring to work alone or in structured environments. Just like when you talking to your child and you say, hey, little Johnny, when you grow up, what do you want to be? And that is a very hard question for a lot of children to answer. And so they normally go to what they see around them. Oh, I want to be a lawyer. I want to play in the NFL. I want to be in the NBA. They just do whatever they see. But as they get older, you start to see that this particular child, and this is like, I have 5 children. And one child, I'm not going to call nobody's name because I don't want none of them to be trying to give me the evil eye in a couple of weeks at Thanksgiving. So one of my children in particular, but trust me, they all going to know who the other one is. One child in particular, they got to sit there and they got to look and they got to think about it and they got to pull out their phone. They got to do a little bit of quick research. I got another one that was like, yo, what's good? Let's do it. Man, we figure the facts out later. I got another one. It's just about the party. It's just about the party. Hey, we gonna have fun when we get there. That's all I care about. Another one. It's whatever. And so when they're younger, and then they hit a certain age, you start seeing their personalities. This is how, as a parent, you can get ahead of the curve with your children. When you know what their personality style is, their natural style is, you can shift them into the areas that they're strong in, but you can also shore up some of them weak areas. Like there's a child that loves to do homework. And then there's a child who, man, every test is a pop quiz, even if they knew about it 3 months in advance. I didn't know. We got a test today? Oh my God. So they're going to be looking on other papers. But anyway, I'm going to get off of that. Oh yeah, shout out to Positive Self-Talk. Positive Self-Talk is responsible for this week's coffee, so I really appreciate you so much. And good morning. What up, boo? I ain't see you pop in there. So, what are some of the challenges or blind spots to this potential personality style? Let me get my little iPad loaded. Boom. There we go. Some of the strengths for the conscientious style. Attention to detail. Y'all kind of already caught that though, right? Attention to detail. This person, their precision ensures that tasks are completed with high levels of accuracy, which is valuable in research, which is valuable in startups. If you're starting a company or you're trying to figure out what the next trend is in the market, you need to have a person with that C style in your corner. You need to have somebody that's willing to go out there and get in the weeds and understand that this This is a great time to do this. This is how you should properly do it to stay out of legal troubles, out of financial troubles. These are the moves you need to make, because that C personality is all about systems. All about systems, and what I'm going to describe to you is really a system. Also, a logical decision making. Logical decision making. They make well-reasoned decisions, often analyzing all available data before moving forward. This is the one that keep you from running off the cliff. When they open up their GPS, they look at the routes. They look at all the routes and they see which route is the fastest. They'll go into it and see what's the best time to leave for traffic purposes, time considerations. The conscientious style is someone you have to have on your team. This is also probably not the one you want working at the front counter at your Chick-fil-A. If they're like, this is their strongest one, they don't need to be at the front counter. Because they're going to give excellent service, but they're going to talk people to death. They're going to be giving them stuff they ain't even asked for as far as information, because they've already studied the menu backwards and forwards. They know. Look, they said 2 minutes on the fries, but technically it takes us about 5 minutes to get those fries out into the thing, salted, and then to you. So you can either wait right here, or I'll get somebody to bring it to, like, bruh, just, that's just a lot of information. That's too much information. I would argue that more women have more of that C than men. Because most men, we think, but we just ain't in the weeds. Now, there are some men that are in the weeds, but most of the guys that I know, we're not super analytical, but then maybe I'm only attracting, friends that, fall into my space. But I know two of my friends are very analytical. And I tell them the same thing, bruh, that's too much. Just, can we shortcut this? Can you speed it up just a little bit? But they also have a commitment to quality. This is Boo. I do all these things you just said. I know. Shout out to my boo. Cause she's a very, my wife is a high C and she's a high D. She's high in both. So I literally zoomed in on a map yesterday. Yeah. That's my boo. She's a high C and a high D. And so I recognize that about her, so I'm able to relate to her a little bit better. I'm able to channel whatever feelings I'm feeling, because I know if I come at her a certain way because of her analytical style, I'm going to get that high D. Pause. She go from Poindexter with the glasses to rah like a dungeon dragon. So it's like, I know that. So I know I have to address things in a certain way. I know I can't, because I've known her so long now, I know what kind of sets her off or what puts her in a certain space. And so I've learned how to maneuver around that. And that's why I love this style. Because this personality assessment, this DISC assessment, because it gives me just 4 things to focus on. And once I see a person's strengths, I figure out what style they are, I know how to best get along with them. Like, my brother used to frustrate me so bad because I would tell him something, but then he got to go research it for 30 years or 30 minutes, whichever, that's too much time for me. And I'd be in the corner like this. But now, because I understand his style, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to give this to him on this day, and I'm going to circle back around in 2 weeks. He'll have all the information by then. Because one style is not better than the other, but when you understand the styles, you can have better relationships. That's the biggest point I'm trying to get across to you this morning. But they are the most critical people you need to have around you. People like, you know what? Let me go in there. There's some people like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie. We're gonna get into those in a little bit. Those are some of the most that's not the right word. I'm thinking of a word. I want to say well appreciated, most famous, most critical people that we've had in our culture, because they changed the way we thought. They changed the way we warred, we worked, we conceived the world in physics and science, because they were down in the weeds. It's not for everybody. I couldn't have those jobs because my attention span just ain't gonna do it. But there are people who do that, and they are highly needed. But what are some of the challenges? This is typically my favorite, the challenges, because we often talk about the good side of things. We often talk about the pieces that we want to celebrate. But the downside to everyone, the challenges, the gaps, the weaknesses, if you will, there's a tendency to overanalyze. Put a 1 in the chat if you know somebody who tends to overanalyze things. They get so caught up in the weeds, the minor details, that it makes them hard to make the decision. You've planned an event. You've envisioned it in your mind. You have it blueprinted out, but you haven't sent the invitations out yet because you can't decide on if you can really wear white in the fall after Labor Day. Oh, what is it? Memorial Day? No, Labor Day. After Labor Day? Or should it be an off-white? That minor detail is just, let's just pick a color and go. Matter of fact, let's just choose blue. Let's choose green. It doesn't matter. But the small details sometimes will cause the people with the C personality style, the conscientiousness style, to falter, to not launch the way they're supposed to. They also struggle with ambiguity. That's a big word. Shout out to me. They struggle with ambiguity. What does that mean? They prefer clarity and structure and may find it challenging to work in rapidly changing environments. I told you guys last week, we was here on a Zoom call, and I was moving things all around the screen, and I was literally distracting her, and I didn't realize, because I do it all the time. Like I told you, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows open that I'm monitoring right now. And I'm looking at every window as I'm talking. And sometimes I'm talking and typing. So rapidly changing things, that's a blind spot or a challenge for a person with the conscientious style or personality style. Which is why sometimes when I'm not talking about you, boo. I'm not talking about you. But it's true. It is very true. And now that I realize that, I can make the proper adjustments. Now, caveat to that. If I was a high D, I'm not trying to make the adjustments. I'm not trying to make the adjustments if my personality style is the dominant style. She needs to get with the program, right? But because I'm an S, I'm the ultimate team player, baby. So I'm going to be the person I need for my teammate. I'm going to figure out for my teammate how to be a good teammate. Because I'm also a high I, I'm going to be a motivator. I'm going to pull her. I'm going to grab her. I'm like, yeah, we got this. We got this. We got this. You're amazing. You can do it. But when I go into my D, pause, I can't just say go into, I got to, when I go into my dominance, how about that? Shout out to me. When I go into my dominance, so I have to stay out of my dominance when I'm talking to people that's high in that C, because the two really don't mix well. Which might explain a few things now that I'm thinking about it. But also, anyway, difficulty delegating. Difficulty delegating. This, I think, was also in the high S, the high I. I mean, if you a high I and a high C, you don't delegate well because you tend to want to do everything. The I's is a trust issue, and the C's is more of a still a trust issue, but you know you're going to do it well. They're not as dedicated to the system as you are. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to take on this, I'm going to take on that, and you're just going to do too much because it's hard to delegate. I was so happy when my wife discovered AI, because everything that she will work on with AI, she was doing herself. And it became really stressful for her. But when she discovered AI, oh man, I've seen her have whole conversations with the AI. And her AI talks back to her. But that's my wife's high D. She's gonna find a solution. She's gonna find a way. If you've taken the DISC assessment, put a 1 in the chat. I'm just curious. Because I could be totally off. I'm not, but I could be. I ain't going to get stuck in the weeds on it. You know, we all entitled to, you know. She loves her AI. Yeah, man. If you've ever taken a DISC assessment, put a 1 in the chat. I'm curious if you guys truly understand where I'm coming from with these assessments and the need to take them. There's hundreds of free DISC assessment websites that you can go to. Hundreds of them, literally. They're popular. There's some people that want to charge you for them. Don't pay because there's other free ones out there. It might take you 20 minutes, maybe not even that long to take it. But it will tell you what your dominant personality style is right now in this space and time. And that's crucial, especially the more you dig into it and understand how understanding your personality style is also a cheat code. Cheat code, I'm telling you. But anyway, the fourth challenge or blind spot for the conscientious style. Okay, positive self-talk, Bobby. Okay, I see you. Balancing perfectionism with productivity. Encourages conscientious individuals to set realistic standards. To avoid burnout or overworking. Baby not driving right now, so perfectionism. Perfectionism is probably the second thing. It's fear. Actually, perfectionism might be number 1. Perfectionism and fear. I'll give it some more thought later on. We ain't got time for that this morning. So perfectionism, trying to make sure it's perfect before you launch it, trying to make sure it's perfect before you sell it, trying to make sure it's perfect before you talk about it. That's perfectionism. You got to keep overanalyzing it because it's not perfect. So you go back into the weeds again and you try to manicure it just right. There's no such thing as perfect. only progress. Perfect doesn't exist. Even if you think you got it perfectly, then what do you think when other people look at it and be like, nah, I don't like that? So as a video professional, I discovered early on that, now this is gonna be a cheat code for some of y'all that's out there listening. Maybe not y'all in the room, but people that's gonna see this video in 2 years. There's a cheat code to video production, especially when you get to the editing, or you're a graphic artist or a website designer or whatever. If people are giving, or you are creating something for someone, you have to put flaws in it. Now, I know you may think that's a wild thing to say or a dumb thing to say, or you might be questioning why you got to put flaws in it. Because people really don't know what they want. Most people have an idea of what they want, but they don't really know. So if I go in there and I make it perfect, I give them all the elements, I give them all the slow start, build, crescendo, close, they're gonna pick it apart. I've done it 1,000 times, literally. And the first 200 times, I'm pulling my hair out, mad with the client because the client don't seem to know what they want. And then one day, I got into my high dominance. And I was like, you know what? All right, I got something for that. So I went in, I spiced this daggone video up, and I put this in, I put that in. I'm like, oh, that's wrong. Bump it. I let them tell me it's wrong. You gonna take this. Take it. Send, submit. They got that video and they said, oh my God, this is amazing. This is perfect. If you could just take this one thing out, everything else is great. And I'm like, and so I've been doing it ever since. A person's nature, the human nature, is to find fault. I've just accepted that. And so as a professional, I give them the fault to find. I give them the fault to find now. I do it the way I want to do it, and I'll put one big Easter egg in there. One big thing that I know is so obvious that this is faulty, that it gives them something to focus on, and then they can appreciate the rest of it. Now, when I remove that thing that I put there, or I didn't fix or whatever, now they can look at it and say, oh no, that right there, but everything else is pretty good though, I like it. My life has gotten so much easier as an editor. Instead of having people saying, I don't know, it just don't quite pop the way that I want it to.
The champ is here!
Yeah, boo. Totally an inside joke. My bad, y'all didn't get it. So balancing perfectionism with productivity. That's something that is a weakness for the conscientious conscientious personality style. And that's something that once you balance it or figure that out how to do that, life will inevitably get better in those areas. In other words, study long, study wrong. Y'all know when y'all playing spades and that person just sitting there and they looking at everybody's card and then looking at their cards, the old head be like, all right, young buck, study long, study wrong. Go with your first instinct. You know what you should have played, but now you're hesitating. Now you about to renege. Now you about to renege. You about to mess it up. And the partner like, come on, please don't. Don't just play a card. Play the right card. Took me forever to find the pop emoji. You should have asked me, man. I speak emoji. I couldn't have told you it was that one, but when I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. Yeah, I don't read emojis, but I can speak them very well. Don't be triggered, boo. Don't be triggered. My bad. She had a client that she put in hours and hours and hours and days and weeks on designing some stuff for this client. And it was beautiful. I can't even lie. I'm just like, yo. And the client came back saying, it looks good, but it just don't pop. And then he refused to pay her. Oh, so she get a little triggered when I bring that up. But that's when I really first started telling her about that. Hey, give them bad stuff to pick apart. Do what you want, but give them something to pick apart, because human nature is we're gonna find fault with something. We're gonna find fault with something. I remember LeBron James posted a picture of his family about a year or so ago. Now, LeBron James has been a superstar on the basketball court, a great human outside the basketball court. Him and his wife been married since 2004 or 5 maybe. They have three kids, I think, maybe 4, but 3 for sure. 2 boys, 1 girl. And LeBron hadn't gotten in any trouble. People just don't like him on the basketball court because he was compared to Jordan so early. And he's failed to reach Jordan's championship heights, but he's reached his own heights. And some people consider that as a failure. And he posted a picture of his family, and the comments was like, beautiful family, but you still suck. and they got, instead of calling him LeBron, I call him Le Flop, Le Loser, or whatever. They use the Le, add another word to it to make up a new name for him. But it's just like, people are gonna find fault no matter what you do, no matter how good you do. Somebody's not gonna like you. So please the people that rock with you. That's really what it comes down to. Do what you want to do. Be the person you're supposed to be. And the people that like you, that when they find you, they will rock with you. Don't try to make everybody like what you do, because it's just not going to happen. So when dealing with people who has that conscientiousness style, what do? How do you have that? How do you have those conversations that are productive with them? Well, first you provide clear and detailed information. And this is where I struggle, because it's detailed information. I'm used to just saying, it'll be okay. But people in this style want to know, well, how is it going to be okay? Can you elaborate? I mean, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to create some money, and I'm going to create this thing, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to be all right. Now, in my mind, I believe that. I know I'm going to figure out a way to make it right. I just can't relay that message to the people that I'm talking to in that moment. And if they're high D, then they're going to be like, all right, homie, I'm going to trust you with your word, but you better make it happen. If they're high I, they're going to be like, all right, cool. So what you need me to do? How can I help? If they're high S, so what we need to do is, I've been thinking about this. And so if we do it this way, right? But they're high C, they over there, brains is flaming right now, because you ain't told them nothing. They're putting their faith on what? Nothing, exactly. So when talking to people with this style, you have to be more detailed, and you got to provide clear detail. Has to be step 1, step 2, step 3. I mean, it'll just make life easier. When discussing tasks or expectations, offer specifics to meet their need for clarity, because they need clarity. They need to understand. They can sometimes be very literal. Because I'm sarcastic, it doesn't always land well, because I'm saying the opposite. And they're like, wait, so are you serious, or are you joking right now? Because that don't make no sense to me. Obviously it don't make no sense, because it don't make sense, right? Hello? But, they don't get it. Sarcasm doesn't land on people that are high C's. Also, when dealing with them, you have to respect their need for time and accuracy. You can't rush them. You can't half do nothing, which is why you need them on your team. If you're striving for excellence, if you're striving for something that is going to stand the test of time, Boo said, like, why don't you just say what you meant? Y'all can see we have some heavy conversations, right? Yeah, y'all can see we talk about we're learning. We've learned and we're still learning. We've learned and we're still learning. Just kind of how it goes. But time and accuracy. They need enough time to make sure they're putting out the best product, service, whatever. They're making sure they're following the recipe to the letter. They're making sure they're following when you buy some IKEA furniture or some rooms to go furniture and they come in a box, cabinets, shelving. I'm gonna lay all the pieces out and I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna look at the picture and I'm gonna start assembling it based on the picture. Cause it's gonna take me 30 minutes to start reading this, then to read this thing, and then another 20 to understand it. I'm wasted an hour. I could have been halfway done. And so I just start putting that thing together. And then I only have one piece that's in backwards. Sometimes it requires me to take it all apart. And sometimes I just gotta deal with that little wood strip that ain't painted because it's the wrong way. But it's gonna be all right. We got this. Also, dealing with the conscientious style, they focus on logic and data. That doesn't make sense. What are people saying? Let me go Google this. So, real quick, let me get into some of these people I was talking about earlier. This guy, Albert Einstein. His science was rooted in careful observation and analysis and logic. His focus on accuracy led to major breakthroughs in physics. We all know he died in, I think, 1955. And his name is, if you type in Albert, he's the #1 search in Google to this day because of his breakthroughs in physics. He's considered a genius, one of the smartest men to ever live. And he was a high C, definitely. Definitely. You would want a guy this smart in your corner. And I'm not sure if it was Albert Einstein who said this or if it was the guy with the light bulbs. One of them said it, I think. And it was that if I have a problem to solve, I'm gonna take 45 minutes to think about it and 15 minutes to fix it. Versus most people will spend an hour trying to fix the problem. Thinking matters. Thinking is important. And thinking is a skill, honestly, that most people don't really have like they used to have. This lady right here, Marie Curie. Marie Curie. She is the first woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize with a husband, but she's also the first woman to win 2 Nobel Peace Prizes. Her work in, I think it was radium, and there's another one, radium and polonium. Radium and polonium, two key elements in the nuclear atomic bomb. Without her discoveries, there is no atomic bomb. Without the atomic bomb, as horrible as it was, the way we live our lives today might not be the same way. might not be the same way. Have you ever seen the Man in the High Castle? Some stuff like that. If you haven't seen it, it's a very interesting look on what would happen if history didn't happen the way that it happened. But you can almost thank her directly for a lot of the advancements that we have. Also, a high C. She was a pioneer in scientific research. High C. High C. And I think we all know this guy right here. This guy was so focused, so detailed, didn't like to waste time. He dropped out of Harvard and built the Windows computer, or and built Microsoft, which is Windows. Dropped out of Harvard to do a startup company that in a lot of senses changed the world. Because I'm a Mac user, I'm an Apple guy, and I talk about Steve Jobs all the time. But Bill Gates was first. He just wasn't first to market. He wasn't first, but he endured. When Apple fell off, he picked up steam and he started rolling. His net worth is like $103 billion. It's ridiculous. He don't even really work anymore. He's a full-time philanthropist. He just give money away. He got so much of it. He's a data guy. He's very meticulous. Think about software design. If you want it to work right, you got to put time into it. I don't even try. It will be a complete waste of time for me to try to go into software design. And as a parent, you know your child is that way. And they say, hey, I want to be a software engineer. No. No, Junior. You don't want to be a software engineer. They make good money. You see money. But that's not really what you want to do. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. Because as a parent, you know their strengths. You know their style. It's easier to steer them into another way. Now, they still have to make the decision. And sometimes going out failing a little bit, it's good for the soul. It really shows you who you are and what you really do bring to not just the table, but to the environment, to the workplace, where your natural strengths lie. Some of the most life-changing, some of the people who have changed the world in some of the greatest ways were people that were high conscientiousness. Because they figured out the best way to make a thing work. They figured out the best way to handle a certain, I want to say contagious, but contagious is not the verb. Long week. But they look for the path. They keep going until they figure out the solution. They don't pull up short. They keep going. And so you need a person that's of this conscientious nature in your business, in your company, in your life, on your team. But not just that person. You also need that S. You need that I. You need that D. Oh, buddy. Shout out to my immaturity. Yeah. And y'all remember, let's see if I can find it. And I think most of us had, what is it? Is it you? Ah, yes. Y'all remember this? Okay, let me move my big head out the way. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Y'all remember that? These right here. These are Nokia phones. Back in the day, late 90s, early 2000s, everybody had a Nokia phone. If you had a phone, it was a Nokia. Why? Because there was no Android. There was no Apple for real yet. And so you had a Nokia or potentially like a BlackBerry, I believe, maybe. But BlackBerry, really only business people had BlackBerry because they had a full keyboard. The average person didn't really need a full keyboard. We were still using dial-up in our desktop computers. The phone was really just to send text messages and make a call every now and then because you had to pay for minutes. I had a plan that I would get unlimited text, but I only got like 60 minutes of talk. I think that's what it was. 60 minutes of talk, but unlimited text. So I could send messages if they had a cell phone. But guess what? Most people didn't have cell phones. Even in the year 2000, most people didn't have a cell phone. People didn't start really getting cell phones until like 2004-ish. You started seeing more people with them in their hand. And if they had a phone, this is what they had. They had Nokias. And Nokia had been around since the 80s. They did a bunch of other stuff, but they found their bread and butter in the phones because the phones were cheap. They were easy. They were low cost to create. But because you're charging you could charge more for the phone than it actually cost to make. It would cost to make that phone literally like $8 to make the phone. But then they were selling the phones for almost $100. Well, like $80 or something like that. So they were making like 800% profits. But you notice today, how many of you ever go to the Sprint store, the AT&T or the Can You Hear Me Now companies at Verizon's? They still have a couple of Nokia phones because Nokia 5, they're back up now a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. But Nokia was the #1 phone company for many, many years. And then something happened. The smartphone happened. And they held 40% of the market share. Apple was like 13%. It was another company too. But anyway, the top 10 phones in 2007, 7 of them belonged to Nokia. That's how dominant they were. And they got comfortable in that #1 spot. And then the iPhone 1 drops. No worries. The iPhone 1 wasn't that good of a phone, but the idea of it, what it was supposed to be, was good. Then the next version came out and not many people bought it. But the iPhone 3GS, to be more specific, it changed the game. Nokia, they studied the market, they studied the details, and everything said that the way we are doing it is still the most profitable. So we're not going to get into that smartphone thing. We're not going to change our operating system. We're going to leave it as is. And then the iPhone 3GS came out. Apple started to explode. And as Apple watched their stock prices increase, their sales go up, people are paying crazy money for this Apple device. Nokia is falling further and further back because they did what? They studied long and then they studied wrong. Right? They didn't make a calculated risk. They chose to stay the course because they still control the market. And by the time the iPhone 5 came out, the iPhone 6, because the iPhone 5 was, if I'm not mistaken, it was like multiple colors. They were making it fun. They was making it more for the youth. Then the iPhone 6, they started making them a little bit bigger. Nokia never stood a chance. Never stood a chance. They did all that planning and that data analyzing. And I think they eventually sold their company to Microsoft, speaking of Bill Gates. And because they stayed the course in their comfort so long, Microsoft couldn't even do nothing with the phones because it would have cost too much money to redo their operating system because they didn't keep up with the times. They were trying to make the market conform to what they wanted versus what the market wanted. And so Bill Gates and Microsoft ended up writing off, because they bought it for like $7 billion, ended up writing it off for like 300 some million. I think they made off of it. So that was a big L. And so they ended up writing it off on their taxes, saying, you know what, this company, but I think somebody else has soon bought them. And so you still see Nokia phones around, but they were the kings. They were the giants, but they fell off because they were not doing the right thing. They studied long. They got caught in the weeds. So in the workplace, quality control. Conscientious individuals excel in roles requiring accuracy, such as auditors. And who catches errors and ensures standards, right? Quality control, auditors, planners. These are the people who their job is to be detailed, to catch whatever mistakes or errors. Also, research and development. Your researchers are most likely high C's. They love the data. They love being in the weeds. Also, project managers. I wanted to be a project manager so bad. I wanted to get my PMP, for those of you who know what that is. And then I started reading the book, and in 5 minutes in the book, I'm like, oh, heck no. This ain't for me. This is not my ministry right here. No, not my ministry. But I know a few people that ministry belongs to. It just wasn't my thing. My personality isn't set up for that. So if you are that high C, how can you leverage this? Because I know we're a little bit over time, but how can we leverage it real quick? Develop comfort with ambiguity. You got to embrace situations with limited information and become more adaptable. It's just a fact of life. Because there are probably less people that are C than D or I or S. It's probably more S's than any other style. And so to make your life easier, becoming more flexible in that area would definitely help. Practice delegation. Understand that delegating builds trust, and it'll help you focus on the higher priority things. You don't get caught in the weeds trying to do everything. Learn to delegate. And number 3, set realistic expectations or standards, realistic standards. Everybody's not going to think the way you think. Most people are not going to ascribe to your way of doing things. You have to understand, if you're a high C, that's a superpower that a lot of people don't have. And you're going to feel like everybody around you is dumb or something is wrong with you. Generally how it works. You got to have balance. And that standard, I can't tell you what your standard should be, but it should be balanced. It should be understanding that most people are not going to understand what I'm trying to do. So how do I handle that mentally? How do I handle it physically? And how do I still work with them? So be realistic. Unless just by chance you also a high D. And if you also a high D, then maybe you can kick the door in, waving the fofo, and make them get in line. But outside of that, that's about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our conversation on the DISC assessment personality styles. If you haven't taken the assessment, it ain't hard to find. Go out there, find the information, or find a good site and take the exam, or not the exam, take the survey. Take the survey. It'll help you. It'll benefit you. It'll give you the needed tools and the information to have better relationships, to maybe even find your purpose, because you'll now start going into the spaces that fit you better. Knowing your personality in this particular style may be the best way to figure out who your partner, how your partner thinks, operates, and how to relate better to them. Help you choose a partner that's more agreeable with you. Sometimes what we want ain't always what we need, and we make a lot of mistakes in doing that. So we've completed it. We've wrapped it up. And then Wednesday when we come back, we'll start working on something. The next topic. I'm kind of in between two topics, so I'm not going to really say what it is right now. Oh, man. But yeah, so the disc assessment is my favorite one. It's my favorite one. Because, well, I just gave you all the reasons, but knowing is half the battle. And so once you know, you can make better steps. You can take better strides. Sometimes we get stuck in life because we're a square peg and we're trying to squeeze into this little round space. And sometimes we're the round peg and we keep falling through the square space because we don't have enough of this thing to be over there. Knowing your personality style, knowing how you relate to people, knowing how you prefer is life-changing. It was for me. And so I hope that this series has helped you get there as well. So it's Monday. It's the beginning of the week. So thank God it's Monday, man. So thank God we get a chance to go out and do it again. To go out and relate to the world, to go out and provide for our families, to go out and pursue our purpose, which is self-discovery. So hopefully you had a great weekend. Hopefully you got some rest. Let's go out here. Let's conquer this world. Let's find our way. And let's make the rest of our life the best of our lives. So you guys stay blessed. Love yourself. Be kind to one another. And I'll see you guys and you ladies on Wednesday. Peace.